Okay, so today we're going to talk about materials. Now, you might have done a couple of these, some of this stuff in the tutorials, but I'm just going to go an overview of what it is. So, what is a material? If we make an object, let's make a sphere. At the moment, it's got a colour on it, a flat colour, and you can change that by going here and changing the colour. That is about the extent that you can do anything with materials to this. So, what materials do is it allows you to apply detail from images or through various other techniques to make the object more interesting. And materials can make or break a model. If you've got a great model with crap materials, it will look crap. But if you've got a simple model with great materials, it will look good. So they are a huge part of 3D. We are barely going to scratch the surface of this block. I'll go into much more detail next block. I might do a bit towards the end of this block, but for the time being, all you need to understand is really what they are and how to apply them, because it's a huge subject area. So I've got my ball here, and I want to make it, let's say, an orange, right? So I'm going to make this into an orange. And I'm not going to do any modelling, I'm just going to use a material to do it. So you open the material editor, which is up here. It's this wee kind of spaceship looking thing. Or you can push M on your keyboard, and that will open the material editor, which looks like this. Now, the material editor, up here you've got some tools. Down here you've got your materials and your maps, right? There is a difference between materials and maps. I get confused all the time and call materials maps and vice versa. So apologies if that confuses anyone. It's just a habit I got into that I find it hard to get out of. And you'll see there's, about 10 different materials here. And there's literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of different maps. You do not need to know what any of these do for the time being, apart from we'll use bitmap. But you'll use some of them over time. I don't even know what combustion is, but I want to know. It sounds fun. So there's loads of different types of maps and types of materials to play with. Materials get incredibly complicated. If I show you some examples here just from Google Image, you'll see, you've got your material and then you've got a million different things plugged into to make them act the way they do. We're not going to go into any level of detail even close to that. All I'm really interested in is getting you used to making a basic material and applying it to your model. And that is really easy. So you've got all these different materials. Worth noting is this is dependent on what renderer you've got set. Now, you should all have Arnold as your default renderer. There's a bunch of preset ones in Max, and they have, if I move it to the side so you can actually see, you'll see that the materials changes depending on what renderer I've got. So not all materials will work with every renderer. You need to be aware of that, but it should show you the ones that you can use. I'll get to rendering in probably about another 5 weeks or so. So for the time being, just Arnold is the one you want. If you want to double check what you're on, click on this wee button here, the teapot with the cog, and bring it up and just make sure renderer says Arnold, but don't need to worry too much about that just now. And I'm just going to work with a physical material just now. There are tons of different types. Standard surface is pretty good in Arnold, but for just the sake of ease, I'm going to use physical material. And if I bring out that from here, you'll see there's tons of different nodes, which is what each of these wee things is called, a node. And they have here, if you double click your material and select it, and it gives you your rollout here for all your settings. And you'll see it says no map, no map, no map. Because materials work, certain materials work with maps. And a map is basically an image that is going to control how it acts. Now, it gets pretty complicated. For the time being, we're really only going to worry about base color map. And then I'm going to do a wee bit about reflections and, that's pretty much it. For now. Now, we'll get to the other stuff later. I'll certainly talk more about materials in block 2 when we're doing environments. But for now, I just want you to get used to what they are and how to apply them in their most basic form. So for base color, I can grab this material, drag this right hand node, just drag it onto the scene, and it should change. Now, if it doesn't, you might have this turned off. It should be on by default, but it might not be. So if this isn't highlighted, make sure it is, and show shaded material in viewport. So if that's not on, you might not see it in your viewport. I'm going to plug an image in to base color map, and And what that's going to do is it's going to apply the image to the model as a material. So I'm going to just drag out from that node, get your wee noodle coming out, let go, and then ignore most of this. I'm just going to go to General and Bitmap. And it should bring up, it's being slow. There you go, it should bring up, I've downloaded some materials already. So I'm going to put an orange peel on, and you'll see that turns into an orange, kind of. Now it's a wee bit squiffy around the top and the bottom, but it looks okay across the middle. Right? If we take Nick, it might be a bit more apparent. So you see that's taking that image, let's make this bigger. It's taking that image and it is wrapping it around, that's terrifying, isn't it? It's wrapping it around the model. And you'll see a seam here where the two sides of the image meet. Now, most of the primitives you get in Max will already have mapping detail on them, but some of the custom materials you make, custom models you make will not, and they'll look an absolute mess. If I put this on here, it'll be nice, clean pictures of Nick on every surface, like that. Because it's a primitive, Max kind of knows what you want to do. So that is, I'm going to get to how to fix things like this in the next video. But for the time being, I just want you to get used to, opening the material editor, getting a material, and then plugging an image into the map. I got the images just from Google Image. It is super simple to do. You just go to Google Image, and then I just typed in orange peel texture, and I got all these ones coming up, and then you can literally just right click and save them. There are websites you can go to download sort of higher quality ones, but for just playing around with, you can have a look at these. Right, so I will talk more about how to map the materials in the next video. So I'll see you then.